Hey gang, it's Deltia from deltiasgaming.com here to bring you my latest Sorcerer build for Elder Scrolls Online, the Velvet Hammer. No, it's not an adult film name, but if you ever wanted to rip through enemies, do bats, throw down AoE, cleave, carve, destroy everything, this is the build for you. It's kind of what I use to solo and level up, also with the Lightning Tornado. It has some interesting dynamics with armor debuff and self-healing, and so it's really powerful in a group or solo. Let's get started. So like every build that I make, I want to talk to you about the build objective. Usually I come up with the first initial build that I use to solo or level around and just kill stuff without any trouble. And this is kind of like my second build on that premise, which is the Velvet Hammer. The whole point of this is to be self-sustaining, going up against almost anything without any trouble. From this little intro video here, I'm in Craglorn as a VR5 taking on at sometimes 10-11 mobs at VR11. It's impressive. The more mobs you have around you, the better. Considering most of the part of leveling is killing 3 to 4 to 5 enemies, it's going to be a breeze. You basically Rambo in with Critical Rush, smash some enemies, drop bats, get out. That's the whole point of it. It's kind of really quick and fun, fast paced. You're going to have to keep some eye on procs here and there, so it's not exactly the easiest build to play. And the whole premise is stripping the armor. With a couple passives and some gear, you'll be able to almost completely remove one's armor and self-heal with Critical Surge. So it's really easy to do those sorts of things. It does have some limitations, which would be CC or crowd control and sustain damage. I probably wouldn't bring this into a trials run per se, but if you're looking for something fast-paced, looks cool, hits like a truck, this is for you. The Velvet Hammer, and no, that's not an adult film name. Alright, we're still in Craglorn here, and I wanted to talk about skills and show you the premise and kind of the idea, concept behind the skills that I used. Just like any build, it should have a gap closer, self-heals, CC, and some type of finisher. Whether it's Mage's Fury or Executioner, you have to be able to finish an enemy when their health's low. So let's kind of see the setup that I'm using here in Craglorn. First off, I gotta prove my prowess. Die, Fox. That's pretty impressive. Okay, not really. So the skills. On bar 1 is where you're going to spend most of your time. This is where it's kind of like your AoE or your big nuke bar for a lot of targets. First off, you have Critical Rush. Critical Rush is amazing. Why? It's a guaranteed crit. You travel a distance and you hit harder for the further you are away. With Critical Surge up, this basically heals you, increases your weapon damage by a huge amount, and heals you for 65% of the damage inflicted. So if you saw I killed that little rat or whatever, now when I have Crit Surge up and I do it, bang, look to the left. It heals me for 65% of the damage I did, which is 630, that's 450 heals. So you have basically a guaranteed self-heal whenever you want it with this little combo. That's why it's impressive. So, it does have 255 stamina, so it's actually a decent amount of cost. It's not that much, so you can kind of spam this. And it is 3.5 meters, so you'll see people rush in with Crit Surge, or Critical Rush, and then kind of peel back. Because you have to be at 3.5 meters back. You can't be right up on top of the enemy. So, let's go get these gators. Come here, gators. Come here. Alright, so you see that it lights up when I'm in range. I hit him. Now I can't do it again. If I can do that, I can peel back, hit him again. Or this guy. Alright, now they're annoying me. Let me kill them. So that's kind of the premise of those two abilities. And you just see what I did. It's kind of like the third setup here. Boom! And boom. Let me talk to you about that little combo. So we got Critical Rush is number 1, Critical Surge is 2, which you can see the proc, we're always going to keep that up. It's 20 seconds, it does take a little bit of magicka to cast, you got to have that proc up. The third ability is Carve. It's probably one of my favorite just all-around abilities in the game. It's an AoE cleave in front of you, deals a decent amount of damage, and also puts a bleed up. But you gain 3 ultimate for each enemy hit. This is what separates the build from being okay to being awesome, is that you can always have an ultimate up. You'll see that bats on my second bar, when I use my ultimate, that's the #1 ultimate in the game for soloing, really. And it only costs 128 ultimate. So with this carve, if I rush in, have critical surge running, and carve a few times, I'll have bats up. Meaning, it's going to be hard to kill me. Very hard. Unless you're using fire. So that's why I'm carving and cleaving in front of me. Now you can do this at any range. And it's not a full radius, so you're going to have to actually aim where you're trying to hit someone. And then you'll see the buff come up, because it does have a dot. Though sometimes I ignore the dot because it's just not that much. Next ability up, we have Streak. This ability is awesome. It looks cool, it's fun, it really makes the Sorc a unique, awesome class to play. You can zoom around the battlefield. The reason I take Streak is because it deals damage. Now, the damage is minimal, to be honest, but damage equals ultimate. The more ultimates you have, the faster you can get bats up. The more bats you have, you're not going down. So that's why I use it. Now, you get 4 seconds after you cast it to not cast it again, otherwise you're going to have a huge penalty. So get in the habit of streaking, turning around, crit rush back, maybe do a carve, streak again. But wait for that 4 seconds. And like this little poor guy here, boom! You can streak up to him or past him. If you go past them, it's going to do damage, hypothetically, and stun them for a brief time. So that's why streak is really important. And remember, if you're doing crits, guess what you're getting? Heals. So everything on this bar will heal you. Last ability, this might be controversial. Mage's Wrath. The two-hander has an execute in it. Executioner. It's a fantastic ability. And it makes your other two-handed abilities do more damage too when they're under a certain percentage. I struggle taking either this or Mage's Fury. Since I'm a high elf and I have tons of magicka, I like this. Also, it has more range. So for me, it's easier for me to get magic. It does do some AoE damage, and I get a bonus for shock damage with my passives. But if I was running a different race, I probably would go a different route. So Executioner might work for you. If you're having trouble with stamina, throw Mage's Wrath. But you have to have a finisher here. It's really important. Then, Flawless Dawnbreaker, you have to have this. Reason why, it has passive weapon damage, deals 13% more once it's fully morphed. That's 10% now when it's slotted. That's an enormous amount of weapon damage. If you see right here, if I have crit surge up on Flawless Dawnbreaker, look at my weapon damage. It's well overcharged. I use a potion, 204. I'm going to hit really hard with 63% crit. Now I'm going to get 600 probably heals off of a critical charge. And this is at VR5. You can expect even more impressive results the higher level you get. So that's kind of bar 1. Recap, rush in, make sure this is up, smash them in the face, streak past them, finish them, laugh. Okay, bar 2. This is more of your, single target, kind of keep pressure up. I am going to go with basically the most important ability in the bar first, which is Crystal Frags. Crystal Frags, the morph that I took is the instant procking. So let me show you. If you don't proc it, this is what it looks like. You cast it, oh wow, that's great, dead. But it becomes an instant cast if you're casting other abilities. When I say cast, it has to be a spell, not just a bow ability or anything like that. The reason I use bow in this is it has great range, and then I can plunk them back with this orient shot. That's why I use bow. So what I do, I have Lightning Flood down here. It only lasts 3 seconds. It's a huge synergy, but it only lasts 3 seconds. That's actually good for us because we want to be casting things over and over and over. Boom, you heard that sound? You see that proc? That's Crystal Frags. Now it makes it instant. So that's why I have Lightning Flood down there. Let's go find a little guy to go nuke. Come here. So you can place this 20 meters out. You can place it just right here just to get a proc up before you go into fight. Boom, you hear that sound? Now, instant, and it hits like a truck. That didn't even crit, that's 500. That's about 700 if it crits. So that's why I have Lightning Flood on there. And Crystal Frags is number 4. So Lightning Flood, AoE damage, and nearby allies can have a synergy. Does a lot of damage.
Crystal frags, basically all spells have a 35% chance to proc this, and it costs a lot less, so you can keep on doing it. That leads me to my third ability, Malicious Curse. By itself, not too good. It lasts 3.5 seconds. When it ends, it blows up and does damage to nearby enemies. So, you can kind of time a couple different things. If you throw this curse on them at range, it procs crystal frags. Now when they get low, boom, you hit that, the thing explodes, and it just vaporizes the target. So the whole point is to kind of nuke them outside, curse them, throw a flood, and get that crystal frags to proc. Come on. Bang. Use it. The other two abilities I have. Focused aim. This is kind of the long range attack that I use that marks a target. I don't know what this guy's doing. The reason I have that, it's a good opener in stealth. You get a passive damage boost to stealth. And at that range, you can really hit targets far out. It's a great PvP ability. And since I'm centered around stamina, this thing really hits hard. You could also use Poison Arrow if you wanted, but I just found that this is more beneficial. And it's getting the buff later on. Boom! 1200 right there. If I would have had Critical Surge running, guess what? That would heal me for that amount. The third ability is the Knockback. I take Disorient Draining Shot because I want to be in control. I don't like Magnum Shot because it pushes me back too. I want to know where I'm going. And this actually can do a decent amount of damage if you spam it. And so kind of weave this and then a light attack in between. It can do a pretty decent amount. So I suggest using that. So those are the 5 primary abilities, and then I got Bats Up. Oh yeah, on the Sorc you get a passive that reduces your ultimate cost. 128 ultimate. This is a self-healing AoE monster ability. I love this ability. Yes, you're weak to fire. Yes, it's annoying being a vampire sometimes, but if you stay in stage 4, this is how you heal. You don't heal like a normal way, you use bats to heal. Well, I mean, let's just go show again how powerful this is. Streak up. Okay, so we got a group. These are VR11s. I'm VR5. I should not be able to kill these things. Switch to bar 2. Batty bats. Carve your face off. Uh-oh, they're about to die. Streak out. Guess what? Bats is up. So they really couldn't even get my health down because I was healing for so much. Doing so much carve, they couldn't do anything about it. That's the power of this build. Let's kind of see how the bow works. So I'm low on ultimate now. This isn't really about AoE, but we can make it work. So you hit crit surge, go into stealth, and you see our little fiend over here. Haha, bye. Boom! Charge up a heavy. Now, lightning flood. Remember, crystal frags. That's our goal. Proccing it. Again. Crystal frags. Now they get close to me. I swap bars. Zoom out. Switch bars. Guess what's up? Batty bats. And things die. So, your ultimate regeneration, or generation, really comes from bar 1. If they get close, it's okay. You can just smash on them and get some ultimate. So don't let that be a problem. But this is kind of how the skills and or how the abilities work. And it centers off around your gear, which I'm going to get to a little bit later. Yep, just hanging out at the local pub. I don't drink it in real life, so I figured might as well drink it up in game. But no, hey, we're going to go over the gear and kind of explain why those crits are important. Because that's really the whole premise of the gear, is to strip their armor. Let me talk to you. Okay, got gear on the left-hand side. I'm VR5. The reason I do my guides when I get to VR5 is I can eat this food and get a realistic sense of where my numbers are going to be at endgame. And what I mean by that, there's some critical numbers to get to. My attributes, I do 24, 1, 24. you could really do, I don't know, 49 in magic if you want. Doesn't matter. As long as you're getting to the critical numbers, you kind of use the glyphs in your gear, in your neck, in your rings, in your weapons to kind of get to those critical numbers. When I say critical numbers, what I'm talking about is health. You really need a roughly around 2200 health at endgame, otherwise you're going to get one-shotted by certain bosses. At VR5, I could get away with 1800 health, but I'd really like to kind of see what it looks like in the future. So that's where I go with that. I like a lot of stamina recovery because I am using carve over and over and over. If I don't have stamina to carve or leap in, I'm not getting healed. I don't have bats up, so it's really important to have that. Magicka recovery, I don't really use too much magic unless I'm in bar 2, so I don't depend on it too much. Health recovery, I don't care about that. Yes, I'm a vampire, but really I'm recovering health via bats. That doesn't matter. You want a good balance between magicka and stamina. You probably want to hit soft cap at 2300 closer to endgame, but for leveling I like a good balance, so I can use bar 1, bar 2 kind of whenever I feel like it. Weapon damage, now this does hit past the soft cap once I have critical surge up. Cast it. So you could even lower your weapon damage since we're kind of well into that, but I really like to hit hard, so that's why I have it there. Armor, don't care about. I have supernatural recovery. I use the shadow for critical strike damage increase, and I stay in VR stage 4, vampirism. Why? The lower ultimate cost. So my gear centers around a couple different things. In the two-handed tree, there's a couple passives that are interesting. Increase chance of applying status effect like burning, chilling, etc. I think this also means armor debuff. I could be wrong, but it increases chance of applying this status effect. So that's important because our weapon has a crusher enchantment on it. 404 armor reduction. That goes well with also Night Mother's Gaze set, which is a 5-piece set that I use. Critical attacks also reduce the target's armor by 260 for 5 seconds. So if I rush in and hit them, I'm literally off the top taking almost 70% of their armor away, just by these two abilities. So yeah, that's why Critical Rush is so important. It guarantees you're going to take off their armor. Lastly, there is another passive that kind of goes with this. If you read heavy weapons, bleeds don't really work very well. Most people run around with swords because it does do a lot more damage, but if you read, attacks ignore 80 armor with two-handed mace. This looks like a hammer, but it's actually a mace. I like the name, so I'm going to go with hammer. It's actually a two-handed mace, so once again, you're ignoring probably 80% of their armor, which once you get towards endgame, you could even be up to 100% if you wanted to. So that's why I go with that. So my critical rush is just stripping them of armor. It's kind of a cool thing, making it easier to nuke them, basically. So one person in your party at least needs to debuff the target with their armor. That's my job. So I go 5 pieces of medium, 2 light. I go 2 light on the head and the belt. That kind of gives me a good balance of stamina recovery, crit, and I can kind of maintain my resources much better than if I were to do 7 medium. I tried 7 medium, didn't like it. So I really like the light for that extra little bit of magicka recovery and reduced cost. I run 2 sets. Night Mother's Gaze, and then Ashen Grip, because Ashen Grip gives me some health and weapon damage. So at VR5, it's a little bit more difficult to hit that 2200 health mark. So I have to have some of the, health from other sources, whether it's enchantments, whatnot. Let's talk about glyphs. There's 3 pieces of gear that are considered large, giving you the maximum amount of stat, if you will, on each piece. It's the head, the chest, and the legs. As you can see, I use Infuse on all of these. Infuse increases that effect by whatever percent. The better your gear is, the more percent it is. So these are the main spots I go with Infuse, so I get maximum amount of stuff back. Health, stamina, magic, or whatever. I have to use a lot of health glyphs right now because I'm not at VR 12 or 14 when it comes out, but later on you could put stamina in here if you got enough health, or change up your attribute points. So the other stuff that I use is Divines on all the other pieces. Divines increases your Mundus Stone effect. My Mundus Stone, the Shadow. You could go with the Thief for more critical. I like the Shadow. Why? I have a guaranteed crit. I have a guaranteed crit. So if I need to heal myself, I just got to charge someone and have crit surge running. So that's why I want to hit harder, because it's based on the amount of damage you do. So to me, why not, right? For jewelry, I'm a filthy vampire, so I have to have one piece of jewelry that has this. I tried not being a vampire, but it's just not worth it. The bats is so powerful and the regeneration is too powerful to give up. So I'll wear one piece of jewelry if I have to. The other two, these are kind of up to you. I do stamina recovery because I like to carve so much, but you could do, I mean, almost anything. Increase weapon damage if you wanted to just go ultra hard hitting. You could put armor here. I mean, there's so many different things. Magicka recovery. But for me, since I'm not a red guard, I need stamina, and that works for me. Weapons, I go with their Crusher enchantment. Also the infused on my weapon. Usually I go precise, but since I have a guaranteed crit when I'm using a two-hander, this seems like the logical choice. Bow, I do use infused as well, though you could go precise if you wanted a little more crit. The same set applies, and that's kind of my gear setup. It's pretty versatile. You could change a couple things around. Also, your third set bonus, your 3-piece set bonus could be changed around, but for right now I like that. Once I get to VR 12 or 14, then we'll see if it changes. For right now, that's my gear setup. Well, what would this video be like without a cool outro? I guess soloing dolmens these days is kind of not cool, but I'm going to do it anyways just to prove that I think I know what I'm doing. So let's attack some fools. Critical rush in. Oh, they're they got fire. Oh, fire's bad. And boom to your face. Thank you. Alright. Come on, big guys. Where you at? Oh, I hate these little guys. But they hate me too. Carve, 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 carve. Oh, guess what? Bats is up again. Weird. Dead. Next. Come here, you. Oh, I'm in trouble. What should I do? See ya. And see ya. I'm gonna go click this. I'm out of stamina. Guess who this is? I still have a proc up. Switch back. Procky proc to your face. No, you're not gonna cast anything. Not today, sir. Or ma'am. Oh, you're gonna hit me with fire? Okay, I'll let you. For now. Oh, I'm getting close to dying. I better use bats. This guy's annoying me. Clicky click. Ooh, a healer. Come here, you. The Hama. They're afraid of the Hama. Is that annoying? I don't think it's annoying. Come here. Someone's healing. I don't like healers. You should know that. Alright, this guy's annoying. He needs to go. And yes, I do talk to myself like this when I'm playing. So, yeah, there's that.
Where is that failed sword saint now?
I don't know where the failed sword saint is, but I know where the Velvet Hammer is. Oh no, these guys suck. Oh, knock me back? Thanks. Batty bats. I don't know, stuff used to be more impressive, but anymore, it's only a Dolmen. But in all seriousness, I hope you enjoyed this build and, you know, future builds that I'll be coming out with. Like I said, probably not made for trials per se, but it's just funner than hell. As you can see, you can do almost anything. And this is a VR 6 zone, I think, that I just did that in. So yeah, you can do this too, but I probably would advise not talking to yourself like a maniac. Thanks for watching this video, and feel free to subscribe or leave me a comment.